Have you ever stopped and asked yourself, what makes a book a classic? Why is it that some works stand high above the rest, even if in modern times they feel drastically different from when they were first published? Here on this channel, I reviewed my fair share of classic literature, mostly from the 20th century, but what secret formula comes together to make a work truly stand out, not just for years, but for decades, even centuries? This happens in literature and arguably film. What examples come to mind? The Great Gatsby, Lord of the Flies, The Lord of the Rings. Something happens when beauty, observation, talent, and perhaps even commentary all come together, reflecting the struggles that define us. It can create an icon, something truly timeless. Let's try and find out why. What books do you find the most memorable, and why do you think that is? For me, the works I remember the longest are the ones that reflect on something personal, something I recognise in myself, but on a broader level, they're also the ones that reflect on the world around me. A particularly moving work for me was The Great Gatsby, one of my favourite books. I'm sure F. Scott Fitzgerald never intended to affect the life of someone living in the 21st century, but he did. I still feel emotional when I look back on it, and although the way it relates to me may be vastly different from how it relates to others, its voice still echoes. Then there are simpler books like Animal Farm that take a complex topic, strip it down, and leave you questioning human behaviour. Your very understanding leads to an uncomfortable thought. Is this really how people would behave? But these are farmyard animals, so why does it feel so real? Well, that brings me to the first point in this difficult question: a hidden voice. Storytelling can be deceptive. What feels like one thing can actually reflect something else entirely. You're often reading more than you realise. There's something behind the lines, something that yearns to be heard. That special voice can hold immense power. It can inspire, it can question, and it can help form new beliefs. When it's wrapped in an engaging story, it begins to endure, even without trying. Somewhere in the back of your mind, a switch might flip, and in the future you remember that voice you read long ago. It's like a subliminal message, except the display is clear and the intention is sincere. The Lord of the Flies presents itself as a tale of children trying to survive, making mistakes you could pass off as inexperience. But when you go out into the world, you see that this inexperience is everywhere. When decisions are made through fear, with little consideration, they become harsh, brutal, and sometimes immoral. But safety is a blanket we crave, and so we endure. Yet books like this make you question, are we all making the same mistakes? What we once considered childish inexperience now looks like common behaviour. It may not always be as extreme, it never needs to be, but it's there in subtle forms, and in some places across the world, far more brutal. Suddenly, a book about the inexperience of children becomes a mirror. Some hidden voice has taught you something, and you start to see it in different places, sometimes where you'd least expect. In The Picture of Dorian Gray, a disturbing tale is told, one of obsession with vanity and youth. Deep down, it's a thought many of us share. To age is certainly a privilege, but if there was a shortcut to eternal youth, how many would take it? And from that realization, the questions begin to form. What is beauty? What is youth? Are we biased towards them? Do we value appearance over character? It's hard not to draw comparisons with our own world. In an age of social media, beauty and image have become currencies. People curate their lives into perfection. In a reversal to Oscar Wilde's classic, it is now the image we share with the world that remains flawless. The person behind it ages and changes. The image presents something pure and idyllic, yet behind that surface we falter, we make mistakes, and we live with them. We cannot filter our immorality or our poor decisions. The portrait no longer decays while we stay perfect. It is we who decay while the portrait, our profile and our image stays untouched, ever glowing, ever beautiful. A hidden message remains just as relevant in the 21st century as it was over 100 years ago. We value too much the way we look and often not the way we act. For a book to endure, it has to carry a message that feels timeless. Empathy can be a difficult concept to grasp. To feel true empathy, you need to understand struggle. You need to see the world from another person's perspective. Yet it's often far too easy to brush those concerns aside. To truly understand what someone is thinking, you have to see through their eyes, feel through their mind. In To Kill a Mockingbird, we learn about empathy not just as a feeling, but as the courage to act. Understanding struggle only goes so far. You must act on your beliefs to make any meaningful difference. Sometimes those actions may demonize you, but if they are right and just, you should always persevere. In The Grapes of Wrath, empathy is explored not through the individual, but through the collective. The tale of a struggling family, the bitter hardship faced during the Great Depression. The book examines the impact of greed on those who have little. When a person is low, it may be easy to exploit them, yet while empathy often fails high above, its resilience at the bottom keeps people alive, keeps them going. Such truths can be found throughout history, where the empathy of communities with nothing eases the suffering inflicted by those who have something. Yet empathy is not the only truth to stand the test of time. Sometimes the truth is as simple as telling something exactly as it is, rather than how others choose to present it. Illusion can cloud our view, especially when it is deliberate. In All Quiet on the Western Front, the truth is devastation. And what constant exists throughout human history, if not war? This book speaks of no glory, no heroism, only survival, loss, and the disturbing cost of both. In The Catcher in the Rye, the truth was identity, the painful search for meaning in a world that feels false. In The Bell Jar, the truth was isolation, how the mind can become both a refuge and a prison. In The Old Man and the Sea, the truth was perseverance, the quiet dignity of struggle, even when defeat is certain. In 1984, the truth was freedom, how quickly both can disappear. In literature, these truths endure long after the cover fades. But if it's not just a hidden voice, and if it's not just a timeless truth, then what else makes a classic truly immortal? No book speaks better of the enduring impact literature can have on society than 1984. Phrases like Orwellian have become commonplace. However, I've discussed this book quite extensively, so I'll keep it as only a brief example here, though a powerful one. If you'd like to know more about dystopian fiction, take a look at my video essay, Why Dystopian Fiction Still Matters. I think you'll love it. Let's finish on The Great Gatsby, arguably another top contender for the most enduring book in fiction, outside of religious and mythological texts. But why? Many people say this book changes as you grow older, that each reading conveys a different emotion to the last. Well, I saw myself in Gatsby. I certainly didn't have the wealth, but I lived somewhat precariously and was no stranger to a party. I kept hoping, believing happiness was only a step away, or at least convincing myself it didn't matter how far off it really was. Then one day I realised there was no one around me who truly cared, at least not from the superficial lifestyle I had led. I suppose in Gatsby I saw the same tragedy. The people I had partied with were never the ones to confide in, not truly. At the close of The Great Gatsby, when no one came to his funeral, I felt a surge of emotion and a sharp realization. That book endured with me, and no doubt it endures with others, when a message is clear, when a truth is defined, and when emotion is pulled, the pieces come together. An enduring impact is woven into a book's message, and that message is often universal. Some speak of the human condition, to time, death, loss, love, or hardship. Others confront truths so difficult to face that entire countries have tried to ban them. There are also books that break the mould, ones that terrify with their language and pave the way for new generations of authors. I've barely scratched the surface of this topic, and my focus has been mostly on the works that explore the human experience. No doubt some of my points can be contested, but perhaps that's the beauty of it. I could have gone further. There are books whose language is so poetic that they are studied for centuries, books that divide opinion, and others that come to define entire genres. In books we find ourselves coming together, even then, even now. They are perhaps the most powerful art form, and the enduring nature of such literature from times where digital formats were but a whisper in a very confusing wind speaks highly of their endurance. My friends, thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.